Once upon a time, there was a very famous king named the citizen, Puranjana. This citizen had a friend, but he knew neither the friend's name nor deeds. The king traveled all over the earth seeking a city fit to rule. Not finding exactly what he was looking for, he started to seem dejected. Every city he found had something desirable and enjoyable about it, but none of them seemed quite good enough for him. At long last, on the southern slopes of the Himalayas, he found a 9-gated city whose virtues were obvious. The city had smooth walls, fresh groves, strong, tall towers, and deep, clear canals. Windows and doors adorned clusters of homes with domes of iron, silver, and gold. The city's palace glittered beautifully, bedecked with sapphires, crystals, diamonds, pearls, emeralds, and rubies. It seemed like a city of pleasure, Bhogavati. It had clubs at the intersections of roads, which were funded by a market and connected to playgrounds. It also had a great open field in which to rest, surrounding a sacred tree adorned with flags and ribbons. Outside the city, a garden of heavenly trees and flowers surrounded a lake with singing birds and bees, rich with lotus flowers and framed with trees, whose fresh leaves sprinkled dew from cool mountain waterfalls as they swayed in flower-scented breezes. The animals from the surrounding forests were as benevolent as sages, and cooing cuckoos seemed to welcome and invite visitors along the paths. Then, out of the blue, he suddenly saw an amazingly attractive woman. Delicate, young, gentle, and beautifully decorated, searching for a great man. When he looked, her 10 servants came forward, each one attended by 100 maids. And a serpent with 5 heads guarded her on all sides, north, south, east, west, and above, like a doorkeeper. Her beautiful face had a lovely nose, forehead, and teeth. Beautiful sparkling earrings adorned her symmetrical ears. She seemed to be a goddess. Her complexion was bright black, and a yellow skirt was below her lovely waist and a belt of golden bells. Once she walked, her feet tinkled with bells. Her breasts were like 2 banners of youthfulness, equally large and pressed together. As she walked with hips swaying like an elephant, she modestly covered them with the edge of a cloth to sort of hide it. She coyly affixed an affectionate glance like an arrow to the glistening bowstring of her eyes and launched it at him with a flick of her eyebrows. Pierced by it, the warrior king melted and spoke to her gently. "Lotus petal wide-eyed girl, who are you?" he asked. "Gentle lady, where have you come from? Timid one, what do you wish to accomplish here, near the city? Please explain this to me. And who are these people following you at your command?" 11 powerful soldiers accompanied by all these women. "And lovely browed lady, who is this serpent that moves in front of you?" In reply, she merely glanced silently, asking with her eyes for him to try and answer his own questions. So he tries. "Are you Hri? Are you Bhavani? Are you Vak? Are you Rama? You are alone in a forest. So are you a sage? Or are you searching for your husband, whose desires must be completely and amazingly fulfilled by just the bottoms of your feet? But has your symbolic lotus flower fallen somewhere from the tips of your fingers? But, O great lady, you must not be any of these goddesses, because I see that your feet touch the earth. Then perhaps this city, with its great lord, might be worthy of ornamenting your glorious life, just as Vishnu and the supreme abode ornament goddess Shri." Hearing this, the great woman glanced away coyly, putting the king into anxiety. He hurriedly and pitifully implored her. "You pierced me with the coy arrow of an affectionate glance, launched from the bow of your brows by the pull of your smile. Now I am injured, and my emotions are overwhelming me. Beautiful lady, show me compassion. Let me look upon your lovely face, those eyebrows framing your eyes of such lovely color, surrounded by heavy curls of thick black hair. That face must have lovely things to say and delightful smiles to show. Don't let timidity prevent you from showing these to me." Hearing the king's confused pleas evoked the woman's sympathy. Enchanted by that hero, she smiled and addressed him. "O bull of men, we don't really know. Where have we come from? What is our lineage? Who made that lineage? Neither myself nor my friends truly understands. We know only that we exist here and now. We don't know the future, what will become of us after this. Nor do we know the past, which created this city in which we live." She actually informs him, "Buddy, this is my city." Respectful one, the men and women with me are my friends, and the snake stays awake to protect the city while I sleep. Enemy tamer, by luck you have also wound up here. It is a great fortune for you. You want to enjoy this city, and my friends and I will enable you to. You may stay in this 9-gated city for 100 years as its king, and I will arrange everything you need to enjoy it. Now, no one but you will enjoy my full-fledged pleasures, which are neither dispassionate, unskilled, short-lived, or habitual. In these pleasures, you will certainly experience pleasure, wealth, and integrity through sexuality, food, and fame, granting happiness, health, in the higher realms, such as you could never imagine without me. They say that marriage is the true safe shelter in this world, beneficial not only to oneself, but to ancestors, gods, sages, humanity, and all living things. So why would I not accept a hero like you? Famous, kind, beautiful, and so easy to attain. You and I should marry. So she accepts his proposal. What woman in this whole world would not be drawn to your mighty serpentine arms? Your chivalrous affection and loving eyes destroy the worries of single ladies. The two, equally eager to unite, accepted one another as husband and wife then and there. Entering the city together, they enjoyed one another for 100 years. When the heat of life made him tired, he would go into the river and play with women who surrounded him as musicians sang here and there. Refreshed by that, he would then utilize the gates of his city, of which 7 were on the city's high slope, 2 on the lower slope. 5 faced east, 2 to the west, and 1 each to the north and south. 2 gates, bright and strong, were in one place facing east. The king would travel their roads with the help of a friend named Light to enjoy a city named Illuminated Displays. Another 2 gates, the tunnels, also stood side by side facing east. With the help of a friend named Wind, the king would travel their roads to enjoy a city named Fragrance. The city's main gate also stood in the east, with 2 roads emerging from it. One road the king would travel with the help of the merchant to enjoy Market City. The other the king would travel with the help of Flavor to enjoy the city named Feasts. Through the city's southern gate, named the Ancestor Summoner, that's Pitruhu, the king's friend Shrutadar, sonic memory or wavelength, would take him to a country called Fives. Through the northern gate, the God Summoner, Devahu, the sonic memory, would take him to the northern Fives. Through the western gate, named Overpowering, a friend named Uninhibited took the king to the village of Procreation. Near it, also facing west, a gate named Evacuation was tended by the king's friend, the Eliminator, and led to a city called Excess. The city also had 2 blind inhabitants. The names are Mover and Shaper. They partnered with the king's other friends to help them travel the roads and enjoy their destinations. The king could also remain at home. If he stayed at home inside the city, a friend named Everywhere would help him enjoy his wife. She would produce children named Satisfaction, Pleasure, and Infatuation. The king, who was infatuated with desires to enjoy, constantly devoted himself to traveling these paths. Whatever she wanted, that thing, he would go and get it. So if she would drink and be merry, he would drink with her. If she would eat, he ate. And as she chewed, he would chew. If she would sing, he would sing with her. If she would cry, he would cry too. If she would laugh, so would he. And if she would chat, he would chat along with her. If she would walk, he would too. If she stood still, so would he. If he would lie down, it was because she was lying down. And if he would sit, it was because she sat. Although he did not intend it, transformed him into a puppet, a plaything, a pet. The king became just like a little pet for the queen. Just like your pet follows you everywhere because it wants you to feed it and take care of it. In the same way, the king is following the queen around because he wants the queen to throw him a little bit of joy. Once, desiring to use his powerful bow, the king mounted a chariot with 5 swift horses, yoked by 2 shafts, attached to the main carriage by 2 posts. It had 2 wheels on 1 axle. 3 bamboos sat atop the axle, crossed by 5 support beams. The horses were on 1 rein, wielded by 1 driver. The carriage had 1 seat, surrounded by 5 storage compartments, and protected by 7 shields. Thus it could enable the king to adventure anywhere and everywhere. The king, ornamented in gold and wearing golden armor, boarded the chariot, carrying an infinite quiver of arrows and followed by 11 commanders. Intent on visiting 5 places, he rode off into the forest. He abandoned his wife, who did not deserve such treatment even for a moment, because he was lusty and greedy for forest meat. He wildly, arrogantly killed animals in the forest with his bow and arrows. He gave in completely to excessive force. His heart became terrible and merciless as he destroyed the creatures of the forest with his razor-sharp arrows. So, anyway, now, at this point in the story, Barisha raises an eyebrow and asks a question. Since kings are allowed to hunt, he asks Narada, why are you describing this in such a negative way? Here's Narada's reply. There's always rules. For lust and greed, there's always rules. Yes, you have to be expected to pursue your lusts and your greeds, but you should do it under some kind of regulation, not with wild abandon. There are always rules to regulate lust and greed. If one lusts for meat, then he has to follow 6 rules to eat it. The meat must be utilized for sacred rituals, first rule. 2, the hunting has to happen at an ordained time. The hunter has to be a Raja, which means he has to be a king or at least a warrior. Killing the animal is to provide the meat to the ceremony. Then Vane, they must be wild animals, not domestic animals. And the 6th rule is you must only kill what is required, what the ceremony requires, not a bit, not an inch more. Anyone who regulates their deeds is wise. Their actions result in wisdom, not implication in karma. But those who are overwhelmed by self-importance do not regulate their deeds at all. They are puppets, enslaved to their own habitual tendencies, and their actions destroy their wisdom and lead them downhill. The king's hunt was wild and unregulated. That is why compassionate people do not speak highly of it. His many different arrows with many different feathers caused terrible death and suffering to harmless animals like rabbits, boars, buffalo, wild cow, deer, hedgehogs, and others. All this slaughter exhausted the king. Worn out by his own hunger and thirst, he gave up hunting and returned home. He washed off his fatigue by bathing, and then he took a nap. Upon awakening, he took proper care of himself. He scented himself with incense, anointed himself with sandalwood cream, and adorned himself with garlands. He was now satisfied, content, and dignified, and Eros once again attracted his mind to his own house and wife, but he could not find that inspiring and elevating woman. Getting a bit nervous, he asked the ladies of the house, "Are you lovely women and your mistress doing well as before? As for me, this home with all of its wealth does not thrill me now, as it did before. For a man, a home without a mother or a wife is like a chariot without wheels. What poor fool would sit there? Where is that lovely woman gone, the one who rescues me when I drown in the ocean of trouble, the one who enlightens me with wisdom at every step?" The ladies replied, "O king, we don't know what your beloved intends, but, killer of enemies, look over there. You will find her fallen on the floor without a cloth." The queen was his greatest inspiration. Seeing her lying on the ground like a mendicant, the king became extremely distressed. Sorry at heart for his misdeeds, he spoke sweetly to calm her down, until all signs of affection's fury subsided from his beloved. Expert at conciliation, he gradually made her feel reconciled. Then he touched her 2 feet and then embraced her gently as he spoke. "O auspicious lady, sometimes the master does not punish the flaws of a dependent who does something terrible, because they want to treat the dependent as an equal. But by not giving punishment, they do not give an education. The master's punishment is the supreme compassion to the dependent. O shapely woman, only a fool gets defensive and angry about this. You are her, the master. I am your dependent, and you have punished me to point out my flaws and correct me. Now please be kind and generous. O intelligent woman, please speak kindly to me now. Look at me with your smile that miraculously balances shyness and passion. Show me your beautiful face with lovely teeth, eyebrows, and long hair as black as bees. You're a hero's wife, and this hero is yours. He's given himself to you. So if anyone, besides the gods of the earth, disturbs you, I will punish him. I can't imagine anyone in the 3 worlds other than the servants of Vishnu who do not fear my punishment. I've never seen your face unadorned, uncleaned, sad, and frightfully angry. I've never seen your breasts without their decorations. I've never seen your lips drenched in your own tears." He says, "I caused all this to you, my sweetheart. I allowed myself to be controlled by vice and go off without you hunting. That's why I caused this pain to you. But now I've given up my macho audacity and submit myself to the control of your flower arrows. Would it not be proper for you to accept me?" Now that the citizen was again completely submissive to her affection, the citizeness could delight in delighting her husband. Her face beaming with satisfaction, the queen bathed well and dressed nicely. The king welcomed her joyfully as she approached him. She embraced him, encircling his shoulders. The words she whispered to him attracted and compelled his heart so fully and captivatingly that he lost track of time and did not know if it was day or night. With his infatuation peaking and saturating his mind, he laid on the queen's wondrous bed, her arms as his pillow. That hero believed he had found his supreme goal. Overwhelmed by this feeling, he did not imagine there might be anything better for himself. While enjoying the queen in that bed, his heart was completely overtaken by lust, and his fresh youth was spent in what seemed like half a second. Passing half his life like this, he got 1,100 sons from the queen. She also gave him 110 daughters, who had all the good qualities of their father and mother. His children had children like themselves, and soon hundreds and hundreds of citizens populated the land of the Fives. They used up all the resources of the land to acquire homes, pantries, and servants because they were bound to possessiveness and addicted to wealth. To cope with this, the king turned to ritual. The rituals could restore and inflate the realm's natural resources. He tried everything. He tried everything, worshipping the gods, the ancestors, and even the ghost masters with terrible animal slaughtering rituals. And then Narada says, just like you, because he was only interested in benefiting his own family, he forgot the correct use of such rituals. Eventually, he aged to the stage which women and lovers dread. A Gandharva king famous by the name Fierce Speed, Chundavega, had an army of 360 pairs of black and white warriors. They besieged the city, built to satisfy desires, because they were intent on plundering it. When they attacked the citizen city, a sleepless guard appeared to defend it. He was so powerful that he could defend the city for 100 years, fighting alone against 720. Gradually, though, as the fight wore on through the years, the guard weakened. Seeing this, the king and citizens of the city became very worried. Recruiting soldiers from the 5 surrounding provinces to aid his guard, the king was able to ignore his fears and continue enjoying with his wife. The daughter of Time wanted to marry and was searching the 3 worlds for a husband. No one anywhere would accept her proposal. It was well known that she could bless anyone who accepted her, because she had once done so with King Puru, but still no one wanted her because the world knew her as misfortune and thought that she was inauspicious. She was looking everywhere for a husband. Nobody wanted her. Then once she saw me because I came to Earth, and she came and she asked me to be her husband. So that even when she learned that I had a vow that I would never marry, a vow of celibacy, her lust for me would not abate. She became furious with me for rejecting her and pronounced a powerful curse. Since you refuse me, you will never settle in one place, she said. So he says, since she was so disappointed, I suggested that she approached the foreign king named Fear. She liked the idea. She went to him and she said, O leader of foreigners, I've made up my mind. I want you as my husband. Anyone who becomes friendly with you is never baffled. The king of Fear hesitated, so the daughter of Time cautioned him. There are 2 sad mistakes that foolish people make. One is not to give what they should give. The other is not to take what they should take. And you should give me what should be given. What should be given? You must reciprocate the affections of anyone in need, for that is the duty of a man. So the king saw the opportunity to become an agent of mysterious fate, and he replied with a smile. All of these people reject you because they think you are vile and inauspicious. Because of this, they should be punished, and you should have revenge. They are obsessed with accomplishing goals through their work. This requires time, which allows you to attack them, to destroy them, he actually says. You are now my sister. The 3 of us, Fear, Age, and Fever, shall roam the world invisibly with our terrible soldiers, destroying these fools who ignore you. The soldiers of fearsome death, heralds of doom, came to this world with the incinerator and Time's daughter. They immediately brutalized and besieged the citizen city, which had an old serpent protecting its treasures of worldly pleasures. Time's daughter makes everyone's power useless when she approaches. So, she easily seized control of the citizen city. As soon as she was in control, the soldiers of fear could breach the city, pouring through its gates and causing havoc within. Every attack on his precious city caused the citizen terrible pain, for he considered that city and its inhabitants to be his very self. Time's daughter embraced the king, draining him of all beauty. He lamented for it bitterly, for he considered it his very self. His power and wisdom drained by her, both the Gandharvas of time and the Yavanas of disease became unstoppable. His sons, grandsons, servants, ministers, and even his wife were unable or unwilling to function or comply with his will. He himself was in the enfeebling grip of Time's daughter. The 5 provinces surrounding the city became overrun with enemies. He could not find protection or remedy anywhere, so he succumbed to insurmountable anxiety. He still desired pleasures, but the daughter of time drained all the pleasure from every object, making them stale and old. He lost all motivations, but still held on to affection for his son and wife. His city was ransacked by the time Gandharvas and the disease Yavanas and completely wrecked by Time's daughter, and they began to force him unwillingly out. The incinerator delightfully set fire to the city to delight and invite his younger brother, fearsome death. The inferno began to consume the king, his wife, their followers, and all their descendants. The city's protector began to weep, seeing his abode seized by Time's daughter, wrecked by foreigners, and set ablaze by the incinerator. The intense pain and suffering of their combined attacks made him unable to defend the city any longer. Like a serpent trembles to escape from the hollow of a burning tree, the city's protector tried to flee from the city. Crushed to bits and emasculated by the sky dwellers of time and the foreigners of disease, he was arrested and began to wail. It says daughters, sons, grandchildren, daughters and sons-in-law, his bit of property, home treasuries, and accessories, and of course, his infatuating lover. These hold the attention of a home dweller obsessed with eye and mind, and make him miserable if he loses them. When I go to this inner realm, this lady will have no one to support her. She will lament, surrounded by so many needy children. How will she continue to exist without me? Her whole life was based on me. She would not eat unless I ate. She would not bathe unless I bathed. If I was irritated, she was concerned. If I was annoyed, she became silent. When I was ignorant, she educated me. If I was away, she withered in sadness. Without me, how will she be able to take care of all the children she mothered? Nor will my children be able to take care of themselves. When I am gone, they will be like shipwrecks at sea. While his depressed thoughts lamented what really need not be lamented, the undefeatable king of foreigners, fearsome death, arrived and arrested him. The king's soldiers bound him like an animal and led him away to their own abode. The king's family and friends, terribly confused and weeping, followed behind. When the serpent guardian left the city, it crumbled into stones and dust. The powerful foreigners dragged the king onward. Eclipsed by darkness, he could not comprehend the presence of his ancient friend and benefactor. All the animals he had slaughtered in his animal sacrifices furiously remembered the torment he caused them, and they hacked at him with axes as he was dragged along. Plunged in endless darkness, he suffered for what seemed to be an eternity. The torment destroyed all his memories. But the sense of attachment to an infatuating woman was a stain that could not be removed. Since his mind was held onto that concept, he became an extremely infatuating woman when he finally emerged again from the inner world, being born as the daughter of Vidarbha, who was a lion amongst kings. Vidarbha married Malayadwaja, the prince of Pandya, who won her devotion by his valor in flawlessly conquering all the princes of all other lands. This earned the prince the name Malayadwaj, which means the ultimate, or literally a flag atop a mountain. So he's Malayadwaj Panda. So he's the ultimate flag on the top of all knowledge and wisdom. With her, he fathered a daughter named She Who Seeks the Dark Unknown, and her 7 younger brothers who became the masters of the South. Each child had countless children who maintained the South for beyond even the ages of Manu. The avowed and serious first daughter, seeker of the unknown, married Agastya, which means mind, the mind sage, and had only one son named Dridhachyutya, which means inscrutable ambition, who in turn had one grandson, Idhamava, which means prepared for sacrifice. So after Idhamava is born, then the philosopher King Malayadwaj went to the mountain of unmoving focus, Kulachala, intent on worshipping Krishna. Queen Vidarbhi followed him like light follows the moon, giving up her home, children, and comforts, for her eyes were also ever youthful in seeking the true essence of all joy. There the king cleansed himself inside and out by bathing regularly in 3 sacred rivers, and the names of the rivers are given: Chandravasa, Tamraparni, and Vatodaka. He remained firmly like this for 100 celestial years, until he did not perceive or possess anything other than adoration for the all-attractive essence. He suddenly experienced that being everywhere and as everything, while also being unique and individual. Yet, he was not fully satisfied by it. Yet it was like knowing something in a dream. Only his mind's eye witnessed it, so it was not yet fully satisfying. So then the all-attractive Hari revealed himself directly, showing himself everywhere. By infusing the king with the light of spotless comprehension, he saw that his own self was fully integrated in love with the Supreme, and that the Supreme was likewise fully integrated in love with him. Seeing this, he completely disintegrated from everything else. And that means he died. Vidarbhi considered her husband Malayadwaj to be divine because he comprehended and adhered to the supreme essence of reality. Out of love, she renounced all pleasures and took care of him carefully. Her clothes torn, her body emaciated, her hair knotted in clumps, she shined peacefully near her husband like the brilliant coals of a smokeless fire. When his dearmost passed away, his body remained in its meditative posture, so unaware of what had happened, she came to care for him. But when she noticed that there was no warmth at all in his feet, her heart despaired like a doe whose mate is lost. Without a partner, she wept for her poor self. Tears of hopelessness drenched her breasts as she broke into a howling sob that echoed through the trees. So she says, "Wake up, O sage of kings, wake up. The world surrounded by water is terrified of villains and warriors. You must protect her." Pleading like this, the girl who followed her husband into the wilderness fell down, and her tears washed her feet. So eventually she collected wood and gathered it into a pyre and placed her husband's body atop it. And then lighting the wood on fire made her heart just practically die. So she says, "O Prabhu." She cried very loudly, "O Prabhu." When she cried, "O Prabhu," someone appeared beside her. A friendly, philosophical, self-possessed person whom she felt she somehow already knew. Calmly, he spoke sympathetic and conciliatory words to her. "Who are you, and what's your connection to this dead man that you're crying over?" So her reply is, "Well, he's my husband, and he's basically my guru. He was doing meditation and I was following him. Now he's gone. Do you know who I am? I think you're the friend that I've been wandering around with forever. You told me that this guy is your Prabhu, and you told me that I'm your friend. But you didn't answer the question of who are you. Perhaps you slightly remember that you're my friend if you slightly remember that I'm your friend." She's exhausted, so she says, "I can't remember anything. I do not know who I truly am. I cannot make sense of it. So please explain. Help me make sense of my shattered memory. So he says, you and I, O noble one, are two swans, two friends. We're like a swan couple. My friend, that swan, you, was unaware of this swan, me. All of your thoughts went instead towards what you might acquire out there in the great world, and so there you wandered, wanting to see whatever it could give birth to. There you found cities. These are your bodies. I will explain their true features. They have 9 gates leading to 5 pleasant gardens. These are the 9 openings in the body through which the master of the city can visit the gardens and enjoy their delightful objects for the 5 senses. So experiences from the gardens are brought back into the city and merge with the mind in 6 assemblies. The city is held together and protected by a single guardian, the vital force. It has 3 storehouses for nourishment, vitamins, and then these storehouses sell their wares in 5 stores, and they sell them as the 5 powers of action, the Kriya Shakti. And then it's got 5 basic building blocks, which is Prakriti. The king or queen ruling the city and all its powers is the intellect. Entering this city through her, you identify fully with it and become unaware of anything else. So now, Vidarbhi pleaded sincerely. Tell me the thing that I never knew. You said there's something I never knew. He said, you never knew that you're not the daughter of Vidarbha and this hero is not your sweetheart. Nor were you the husband of Queen Puranjana. You're simply a prisoner in a 9-sided cell. And why did you think that you were those things? That's the power of illusion, the power that stems from me. A power that allows you to believe that you are a strong man or an elegant woman or something in between. Now she wants to know, what am I really? Oh, Swan, try to see what we really are. You and I are not 2 separate beings. Bo, see that you are actually me, although distinct. Those who know Kavi, they do not see a divide between us, never, even in the slightest. When a singular person looks in the mirror, he sees 2 beings. This is why you and I see ourselves as 2. So it says, in the heart, one swan can be awakened and educated by the other. Then it can destroy its aversion to the other and become its true self again. Narada concludes, O king, I have explained the spiritual truth to you using an allegory, because the all-attractive, all-manifesting divinity is fond of allegory and metaphor.